While the Supreme Court's decision is a victory long sought by abortion opponents, the ruling was met with outrage by abortion rights advocates.
By the way, like, it was met with outrage not just by abortion rights advocates, just like by most of the country. Like, can we just point out that it was most of the country? I don't like that the framing is like, oh, a bunch of random edge cases, like, you know what I mean? A bunch of random women who like live and die by like the right to be able to have an abortion. Like, no, that's not the case. Actually, I like the other side is a bunch of twisted little freaks for sure. Like, they 100% have made it their life's mission and they're psychotic. There were so many people who fucking traveled to DC. You know, if you listen to the New York Times or if you fucking listen to NPR, read any of these articles, like, you will find these twisted little freaks being mentioned as though they're like normal people when they're clearly not. It is no different than like asking someone who is like clearly having a mental breakdown what their perspective is on the Supreme Court. You know what I mean? You would never do that usually, okay? But I guess the internet has created this system, this process where like everyone's voice is just as important as one another's, and we've like robbed it of the context of who's saying what. So now we just like have this weird normalizing effect without like placing any consideration on the mental well-being of the person who fucking traveled 2,000 miles to DC to be like, fuck yeah, women can't get fucking abortions anymore. Like, that's an unwell person. That person probably should be institutionalized, okay, for a little bit. Just a little bit, just a baby bit. In a normal society, that's what would happen. But instead, in this society that we live in, the New York Times is like, let me put a microphone in your fucking face and ask you what your perspective is, and then act like that's a normal thing. It's not a normal thing. I'm sick and tired of acting like it's a normal thing. You're a psycho. You're a crazy person. You are unwell. I don't want you fucking dictating policy. I'm a fucking ableist, dog, okay? It's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's so ridiculous, and I think a lot of people are recognizing how ridiculous it is. But these are incredibly powerful elites that just can rip fucking rights away at a moment's notice, you know what I mean? And like dramatically fuck millions of women. Like, just actually dramatically undermine their civil liberties, their autonomy. The state can just come in and be like, nope, we're not doing this anymore. Get fucked, bitch. And that's like the primary purpose of it too. There is no like underlying motivating principle here that's rooted within like a moral perspective. No matter how much people try to make it so, no matter how much people try to say like, oh, well, this is actually about avoiding murder. It's like, well, no, it's still bodily autonomy. All these fucking libertarians, all these conservatives are like constantly advocating to like murder homeless people or people that come into your home. But when something is like literally stuck to your body that you didn't want to have, you can easily take a pill. You can easily take a pill in the first trimester where 92% of abortions happen and deal with the problem. But they don't want that. They're like, nope, sorry. You know, it's violating NAP, okay? Your non-aggression principles. It's the fetus is violating your bodily autonomy. Okay? It's just hypocritical, even from a libertarian perspective, is what I'm saying. Okay? Now, here's the thing. You might not want to fucking kill someone that comes into your house and breaks into your house. Okay? That's up to you. But the state can't fucking stop you from like defending yourself, right? If you're an American citizen, the state can't stop you from defending yourself, I thought. Come on, dude. It's wild that like, you know, the only time you can actually fucking do an abortion is if you do it with a gun, I guess, because the gun has better protections than women's bodies. Wild set of circumstances here that we are currently experiencing. Here, let's watch.
Protests spread from the steps of the High Court to cities across the country, and demonstrations are planned in more than 100 cities throughout the weekend. At a protest in Phoenix last night, police used tear gas to scatter demonstrators. Police say the protesters were banging on the windows of the state capitol while the Senate was in session there. There were no injuries or arrests.
One of the most wild things about the footage that you just saw is the state using tear gas, which of course is, I always fuck this word up, but an aborticifant or whatever, however you fucking say it. Like, they're literally, Felix pointed this out. Tear gas is an abortifacient. I don't know how to fucking say that word. Tear gas is an abortifacient. Not that any of these fucking bowling balls with eyes give a shit. Just if there was any belief in an American pro-life position that wasn't about pure malice and domination. Abortifacient. Whatever. What does that word mean? It's something that can cause an abortion. It's a chemical that can cause an abortion, okay? It's not a counter that I assume everyone here believes, but I'll hit you with the counter to the house argument just because I don't know how to counter it every day. If you don't want to have baby, then don't have sex. Why? Why is the state telling you not to have sex? Is the only reason to have sex to have babies? That's an insane proposition. That is like That's a great argument, dude. That's actually a great argument. Whenever someone says that, it's like, why would I? Why would I stop that? Like, that is a psychotic position. And most people don't agree with that position. Just remember, a lot of people do not believe that position. That is a religious, zealot, psychopathic fucking position to have. Like, that's insane. What are we doing? Is this the 1930s? Like, what do you mean? Oh, don't have sex if you don't want to have an abortion. Like, why not? What do you say to someone that says that women should keep their legs closed? I mean, plenty of women do keep their fucking legs closed and then they get raped. You know what I mean? So that doesn't stop states from still saying like, no, you have to fucking carry this pregnancy to term. But once again, that's just pure victim blaming. Okay, keep their legs closed. Like,
but Speaker Nancy Pelosi questioned if the court's Trump-appointed justices had misrepresented their position on Roe to Congress.
Were they not telling the truth then?
Republican Susan Collins.
Oh, were they not telling the truth then? I don't know, Nancy. How many times do you have to be a fucking dumbass, dude? Of course they weren't telling the truth. We need a strong Republican Party. Hey, remember when Nancy was saying we need a strong Republican Party? We need a strong Republican Party. We need a strong Republican Party. Hey, Nancy, let me ask you something. All those fucking strong Republicans, they're doing touchdown dances right now. They're doing end zone celebrations currently because like millions of women will no longer be able to get this, medical procedure. So what's up with the strong Republican Party then? Huh? Like just because they're not Donald Trump or, overtly Trump supporters, even though most of them are anyway. Where's the strong Republican Party that you were mentioning? Because it seems like this was a very long, 40-year-long project for them, and they very successfully achieved those goals and also dramatically undermined Congress's ability to legislate while simultaneously packing the courts. And that was the strong Republican Party you were looking for. And that strong Republican Party is not just Trump. It was like way before Trump. Trump was a fucking Democrat when that strong Republican Party that you're like, simping for was around and doing this shit, building the fucking foundations. Ectopic pregnancy between the ages of 26 to 30 is 51%. That diagnosis is death unless abortion occurs. What are we to do? Die? Yes. Let God sort it out is kind of unironically the fucking take for all of these states that make no exceptions. There are states currently that make no fucking exceptions. And the most disgusting, fucked up part about this is that you ask the state legislators, like, well, what about ectopic pregnancies? They say God will sort it out. If there was a fucking God, he would have sorted you out, you fucking scumbag. What do you mean, let God sort it out? You literally would not exist on this planet if there was a God out there and there was like karmic justice at the very least. You know what I mean? You would not. You would have been sorted out. Ridiculous.
Who voted for Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh released a statement saying that both nominees were insistent on the importance of supporting.
Okay, is Susan Collins going to fucking push for a bill? Is Susan Collins going to fucking whip the Republican Party? Is Susan Collins going to actually try to fucking garner support for codifying Roe v. Wade? Because if that's not the case, I don't want to hear from you, okay? I don't care. If Joe Manchin comes out and says, wow, I've been fucking duped by the Republicans that actually said that they would not do this. It's like, all right, motherfucker, abolish the filibuster then. Take action right now. These are things that we could do. And the reason why I'm mentioning this, by the way, is specifically because when you go out there and you protest, it's easy to just be angry and be like, oh, hands off my body. And that's understandable to feel angry, and that's understandable to not really know, but direct your anger in the appropriate places, okay? What we need to do is actually channel that anger into productive rage, which is what the Republicans do all the time. They will take like fucking festering anxieties and anger and then direct it at like insane proposals like the school vouchers program or some shit. You know what I mean? They will literally take like QAnon schizos and turn them into fucking warriors for abolishing public education. And that's crazy. And the Democrats don't do that. They don't do that at all. There's like very legitimate anger out there, festering, very legitimate anger and justified rage out there. And we have no way to fucking channel that. We have no way to direct it into the appropriate avenues, which is why I'm always telling you, like, there are things that we can do. And when you're out there in a fucking protest, if you're one of these organizers and you're in here, and there's plenty of you in here right now, if you're at the DSA, if you're at your local DSA and you're about to, set up a protest for abortion, make sure that your anger is directed in the right places, okay? And yes, it's not just the Republicans, but Democrats are also a legitimate place to fucking direct your anger at as well. Anyone that stands in opposition to abolishing the filibuster in this very moment is a fucking piece of shit. Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. I don't give a fuck that Biden came out and the first thing he said is don't be mean, don't be violent, okay? Direct your anger in the appropriate avenues. Examples of right places, court packing, trying to fucking change the dynamic of the Supreme Court. Add additional Supreme Court justices to the court. Push for Biden to put forward a bill where like there will be federal land utilized for abortion clinics on federal land that's like protected by the federal government. Push for the abolition of the filibuster and codifying Roe v. V Wade, turning it into law. These are things that you could fucking advocate for, okay? And you should advocate for, but the Democrats don't want to do any of that stuff. Libs get so pissed at me for telling them the Republican Party is 100 times more productive. What's the point of voting for a party that avoids anything to do help? Yeah, I know. I don't know why, like, liberals don't demand more from their own politicians. You know how you get mad at me? You're like, oh man, my life fucking sucks. Look at this guy. All he does is sit on his ass and like watch YouTube videos and make a fuckload of money, right? You know how you get mad at me and like you think you're doing good action? Channel that frustration into something more productive, I promise. There will be plenty of time where you can shit on me. Do you understand? Plenty of fucking time, you little babies. I'm here all day, every day. Come back to me when we've actually gotten some solutions from the Democratic Party, rather than just fucking constantly the Democratic Party like legitimately just complaining and doing nothing. I'm a Twitch streamer. I have no power. I am completely fucking powerless. I'm completely powerless. I can't fundamentally change your lives. I have no control over your lives whatsoever. The only way I can actually change your mind is if you watch me, okay? And if it's making you angry and you want to direct that anger towards me, then I don't know what to tell you. I hope that I can change your mind into becoming an organizer. I hope that I can change your mind into organizing your workplace. I hope that I can change your mind into taking political action and not just immediately think that like the only thing to do in this situation is to just fucking shit on me, all right? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had a good thread on this. Here's how the Dems can plus must do more than wait for an election. 7 of the 9 justices were appointed by a party that hasn't won a popular vote more than once in the last 30 years. One of those seats was stolen. Several lied to Congress to secure an appointment. One justice's family, Thomas, was paid by right-wing groups for years, and he never disclosed it, violating federal law. Same justice's spouse participated in January 6th, and he used his SCOTUS seat to vote to keep potential info related to his wife from investigators in Congress, which was a clear fucking violation of ethics rules, okay? In every other court, in the American court system, that is a violation. That would mean that you would no longer be a judge, okay? You do that shit, you're no longer a judge. 2, justices stand very credibly accused of sexual assault, and that's the tip of the iceberg. Election or not, the Supreme Court is a legitimacy crisis, and the public reaffirms it. 75% of the U.S. public reports lacking confidence in SCOTUS, and those numbers were the pre-Roe ruling. In a legitimacy crisis, the solution for Biden plus Dem leaders must offer can't just be one of voting, but of statute and authority. Compared to the executive and legislative branch, checks on the court overreach and misconduct are little to none. Leaders must share their plans for Roe and a rogue court. I agree with that. Past presidents from Lincoln to FDR understood the dangerous stakes of allowing an unchecked court overreach its authority and threaten our democracy. Lincoln ignored the court to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. FDR, in the plunge of the Great Depression, also sought to confront the court structure and core gerontocracy problem of lifetime appointments via public appeal. While he did not succeed, that check came from the people and Congress, and not from fucking SCOTUS. The ruling is Roe, but the crisis is democracy. Leaders must share specific plans for both. The president and Democratic leaders can no longer get away with familiar tactics of committees and studies to avoid tackling our crises head on anymore. Restrained judicial review. Oh God, she is spitting, dude. Absolutely fucking spitting daggers, okay? Restrained judicial review. Absolutely. Open clinics on federal lands. Absolutely. Expand the court. Absolutely. Expand federal access and awareness of pill abortions, etc. Use the fucking VA. Use the VA. There's a VA everywhere in every goddamn state. Now, they're underfunded regardless, but pump some more fucking funds. You already have a shitload of money going in the military. Utilize that, dude. Fund the VA, which I'm in favor of regardless, instead of fucking funding new Javelin missiles to go to whoever the fuck, okay? Maybe we should use some of the fucking additional $800 billion in discretionary spending towards funding the VA. Veterans are out here fucked up. Every 22 minutes, another veteran is killing themselves in this fucking country, and we're out here acting like that's not a major problem. We're out here acting like that entire pool of people that are eligible for care from the Veterans Affairs Office, from those VA hospitals, are not deeply fucked up and cannot be compared to the actual pool of people who buy into insurance across the board. That is an entire group of people that are fucked up, that deserve health care, okay? Just like every other American. Every other American deserves health care, obviously. But we already have a plan set in place for these people, and we're still not offering them fucking the health care that we promised we'd give them. Use the VA, and then allow the VA to offer abortions to every fucking civilian. For the moments when the DO insists on election, for the moments when we do insist on elections, DO, we must be precise with what we need and what we will do with that power. How many seats does the party need to codify Roe? Dude, I love this. This is the exact conversation that me and Jamel Bowie had yesterday. She's so good. I mean, AOC is very good. She does fucking keep her ear to the ground. She does keep her finger on the pulse. When it comes to moments like this, she does spit. This is the bare minimum a politician should do, but god damn, dude, it is literally like, it's what we got. I mean, these are the same things I talk about every day. Every single thing that she has mentioned, I have covered yesterday before she even blasted this off, and I love her for it, okay? This is good. This is great. How many seats does the party need to codify Roe? Dems must say that, not just go vote or give us $6 to win. That is demoralizing, losing, unfocused nonsense. Exactly. Dem leaders must tell voters the plan. What is the actual need? Which specific seats are we focused on? What votes do we need to do and where? What states and races? And what's the return? What is Biden and Congress actually willing and able to do at 52 to 60 seats? Be honest. Details motivate. So let's wake up, everybody. What's good? What's good, Democrats? If you don't like what I've laid out here, then please represent your plan instead of little why we can't list. Let's cut the hand wringing and get moving. Chop chop. No more show tunes till November unless get out the vote. I'm not gonna like that one. There's still some like, you know, cringe liberal stuff baked in there. Shut down Amazon at last night's March for Abortion Rights in Manhattan. Fuck yeah. Register to vote. 42 states lets you to register to vote online. Dude, it's not just voting. It's not. We got to talk about, like, what we have to talk about in this circumstance is not to just say just vote. I'm going to be honest with you. If you say just vote in this moment, that is so incredibly fucking demoralizing, dude. Why? We already did the voting, dog. And the people that we voted for are not doing anything. They act like they're completely fucking handicapped by the Republican Party and procedural hurdles. If you say that to a normal person, and it's very hard, you're in here already, okay? You're in here every day, even when like shit's popping off, right? And if you're in here every day or when shit's popping off, you already have this perspective. You already have this attitude. Your brain is already wired in a certain way where like you kind of understand this stuff and how important politics is and how important political mobilizing is. So you can't comprehend what the fucking normal person has. Like you can't comprehend the approach of a normal person. You can't understand it. A normal person sees this and goes, well, I fucking voted already. It's also incredibly demoralizing to cast doubt on voting as much as this community is doing with your lead. It has to be don't just vote, not why bother voting. We've heard some amount of the latter. My friend, you have to understand that attitude is not something I can change. Okay. I could try as hard as I want to, but ultimately there are millions of people who refuse to vote. And there are millions more that have actually voted that are now thinking, well, what the fuck's going on? That's a very real feeling that they have. And of course I'm going to fucking say that that is an understandable feeling to have. Right now, it's not about voting. Okay. Right now, it's about action. You're talking about this as though like the Democrats don't control Congress, as though the Democrats don't control the fucking White House. I've had so many Republicans tell me that when it comes to such a controversial topic, it has to be left up to the people to vote state by state, which I think is just sad. The states that are become no choice state, there will be lives that are physically affected, while the people who are pro-life aren't affected in comparable way. Thoughts? First of all, those Republicans are just repeating talking points, not CIB. Those Republicans are simply repeating talking points that they've heard from other Republican commentators. Because the reality is that the overwhelming majority of Americans have historically been in support of protecting abortion, a woman's right to fucking choose. Doesn't matter if they're personally not interested in having an abortion if push came to shove, but they still don't think the state should interfere with that. That's part of the reason why the Supreme Court lied. The three appointments, the three recent Donald Trump picks straight up lied and said, no, it's a super precedent. We're not going to change it. Let me explain something to you. When Republicans say, oh, it should be left up to the states, they're actually lying. And here's why. State legislatures are dramatically undemocratic. Wisconsin is a great example of this that I use all the fucking time. In the state of Wisconsin, even though Democrats win by 6 points to 10 points, the Wisconsin state legislature is still a Republican supermajority as a consequence of redistricting, the process in which like you redefine which districts have what kind of fucking elected representatives. That in and of itself is undemocratic, and Republicans know that, and that's why they say, oh, well, leave it up to the states. So even if a state has like majority Democrats, even if a state has Republicans and a majority of Democrats actually say, we don't want fucking abortion to be restricted in this state, the state legislature can, and often does, still push for laws that completely undermine the democratic process, that completely undermine the democratic wishes of the majority of the people in said state. And Republicans, the Republican talking heads, as a matter of fact, know that reality, and that's why they, in a very cruel way, mislead their followers into thinking, oh, well, there's a democratic process there. None of these states have fucking ballot measures. It's not like these states have actual ballot measures because they know if they put a fucking ballot measure to publicly protect abortion, that ballot measure would be so overwhelmingly fucking positive, it would actually drive people out to go out and vote. And they fucking know that. That's why they don't do that. That's why they do it through the state legislatures, which is dramatically undemocratic. Do you think that the Dems see this as a kind of a W now? They get to run on social policy, culture war stuff instead of being pestered with economic policy questions every election cycle. Now Dems get to run on bringing back Roe instead of whether or not they will forgive student debt. I think what the Democrats don't understand, and this is really, really scary, I think what Democrats don't personally understand something. The American people see them in power right now. You're in power. So if you're powerless while you're in power and you keep saying, well, you just got to vote harder, you have to remember, like, you're basically telling this group of people that, like, their vote didn't actually fucking matter, you know, because you're not pushing people, you're not redirecting people's anger in the way that, like, Republicans do. You know what I mean? Why the fuck would people want to vote for them if they're in power right now and they're still getting their shit pushed in? The rule of the Democratic Party seems to be no matter how many votes they get, there will always be a Joe Manchin. Yeah, it's not just Joe Manchin, though. It's called the rotating villain. And we need to stop that. How do you stop that? You stop that by bullying Democratic representatives. Bully your Democratic representatives into doing the right thing. Redirect your anger towards them in the same way that these, like, evangelical freaks do, okay? You need to bully them. You need to bully not just fucking Kirsten Sinema, not just Joe Manchin. You need to bully motherfuckers like Nancy Pelosi. You need to bully motherfuckers that you think are on your side, okay? Because none of them are, ultimately. How come they bully AOC but not Manchin? Because they're fucking stupid. How come people come in here and yell at me, a fucking Twitch streamer, instead of, like, people that are dramatically reducing their rights? Because we're powerless. Because we have lost all hope. That's what powerless people do. Powerless people who are understandably hurt and justifiably angry by structural oppression go and attack whatever they can. They can't attack a fucking congressperson. They can't criticize a congressperson. They can't get a congressperson to do whatever the fuck they want to do, even if the congressperson literally ran on actually fucking those ideas. They can't bully the congresspersons that are not accessible, so they come in here and they yell at me, right? And that's really fucking stupid. You can do that all you want. You can do that every day, okay? But just first of all, use that anger towards fucking people in positions of power. I understand why you're mad. I understand why you're mad. Even when it comes to, like, dumb shit like fucking Hasan bought a house, whatever. Remember, every time I've talked about this issue, I've always said this is justifiable anger that people feel. It's just misdirected at the wrong person. All right?
This is a huge, historic moment for America.
These are people that are celebrating. Guys, those people that they're showing are people who are celebrating the end of Roe v. Wade.
Hear the news from the court? There's jubilation from anti-abortionists.
Life won today! Life won today!
Life won.
Life won today? Listen, let me tell you something, okay? You didn't win shit. Straight up. You literally didn't win anything, lady, okay? Not gonna say anything else. Just gonna say, hey, don't worry. One way or the other, this was not impacting you, okay? Maybe your daughter, if you have one, ultimately not impacting you, okay? It's always like that. The motherfuckers that are out there, the loudest, are people who are just so incredibly sexless, dude. Straight up, the least sex-having motherfuckers are out there like, oh yeah, we won, yeah. It's like, well, you didn't, actually.
This isn't a country that I ever thought I would know. I thought that this country would still care about people, would still care about women.
Inside, they had to come to terms with the fact that the care they provided here is now a criminal offense.
I don't think there's a waiting period there, but it is about a 5.5-hour drive. And see, it's like having to turn women away, like, that sucks.
Jennifer Thompson first came here as a patient. She says her abortion saved her life, and the care she received here inspired her to train so she could do the same for others.
Now I have to tell them, I'm sorry, but there's nothing I can do for you. I'm sorry that your boyfriend beats you every day and that he rapes you all the time. There's nothing I can do. You're going to have to find somewhere else to go. I mean, I can give him information to help him try, but it's heartbreaking, man. Like, you know, this place saved my life, literally.
This is how I usually chart.
For more than 10 years, Dr. Willie Parker has travelled here from another state because the restrictive laws and the threat of violence or financial ruin has long been too great for local doctors to carry out abortions here themselves.
I feel angry in the way that anybody who is deeply...
This is really good to see immediately after you see those fucking hogalinas like squealing like little piglets outside of the fucking Supreme Court in celebration. This is what they're celebrating, okay? This is what they're celebrating. They're celebrating about denying people the right to a medical process, a medical procedure, so that they can make better decisions about their own fucking bodies. The further we decline, the further people's material conditions get worse, the more profit is desperately squeezed out of like every facet of our existence, the more brutal we become.
Vested in human rights should feel angry and outraged and indignant anytime they are witnessing injustice. We will come to recognize the full cost of criminalizing abortion when we start to see the bump in the rise in maternal mortality and morbidity suffer.
That's the other thing, man. That's the other fucking incredibly fucked up problem, is that like a lot of people can't comprehend how horrifying giving birth is across the board, and the likelihood that you will die in the process skyrockets if you're a black woman. Okay?
In Louisiana, the last abortion clinic closed down yesterday.
And what you have prayed for is to make death for women easier, because you don't allow them access to good medical care.
Throughout the country, abortion activists say that poor women, many of color, will be hit hardest.
You're basically sentencing black women to death, because already we're dying in childbirth.
Missouri Congress.
Like, again, in this country, it's like on the minimum $10,000 to pop a baby out, okay? And then that is before we factor in childcare and all the other costs associated with it, and you're on your fucking own. In this country, we don't have federally mandated maternal leave or paternal leave or any fucking parental leave in general. We are the only OECD nation on the planet that literally does not have a legal mandate constituted by the federal level where they say, yeah, it's fine. You don't have to like pop out a baby and go back to fucking work. In this country, you have a significantly higher likelihood die while giving birth or in that process in comparison to other comparable OECD nations. We don't even have fucking baby formula. And you're out here being like, no, we need to trap women into this fucking process. And that blows my mind, dude. That blows my fucking mind. It's just pure cruelty. You've made it impossible for people to have even free time to like fuck and have a child. You made it impossible for people to take time off to have a child and properly care for it. You made it impossible to take care of a child financially. And then you turn around and you're like, why aren't people having children? Well, I don't know, man. Maybe it's really fucking costly. People need to try and survive. And there's plenty of people out there who probably would have children if they had the opportunity to. These are the people who don't want to have children, and you're forcing them to have children. People that get abortions aren't literally trying to have children. There's a very easy and safe medical process to stop them from having a child. Okay, that's it. Being against sex ed, contraception, welfare, and maternal leave, etc., means you hate women. As simple as that. Yeah. Mississippi has 3 times the national average for maternal mortality, and black women are 3 times more likely to die from childbirth. Yep. It is kind of crazy that like we do not any longer talk about the underlying religious reason for abortions. I think one of the things that the modern right have successfully moved away from, especially when it comes to like the national conversation around it, is that I think they recognize that like doing this on religious grounds seems fucking crazy. So they don't talk about it like that, and exclusively talk about it like it's about protecting the life, and it's like actually a life. It's actually a life. When in fact, religious reasons are a big part of this. That life begins at conception is absolutely just a religious fucking subject matter, and that's real. It is strange. So that's a interesting thing that I've been thinking about a lot. Like, this used to be a conversation about like how, you know, religious interests should not actually factor into the consideration. We're a secular nation, and now we've like the Republicans have sidestepped away from that and make it seem as though this is simply a conversation about murder. We need to bring that back. We need to actually we need to bring religion back into this conversation, I think.
That suggesting that things like contraception and gay rights might also be impacted later down the line. What are the chances of that actually happening?
I'd say 0. I mean, this court, even in the opinion, said it's hard to say how we could be more clear that those cases are not threatened or cast in doubt. You know, and wrote that separate opinion where he says, well, I think they, might be, but no one agreed with him. So he's out there on a trip of his own. He's one justice. You had, the other four were like, we don't agree, we're not on board with that. Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote a separate opinion himself.
Oh,
saying,
yeah, they're
no,
so nice.
No.
They're so nice, actually. Yeah, Brett Kavanaugh is so much better, actually. Dude, I feel like she's running defense for the fucking other reactionary Supreme Court justices, which is a wild thing to consider.
If states do try to limit access to contraception or limit, gay marriage, that will go back into the courts, and that issue could come back to the Supreme Court. And there's probably 8 justices, setting Thomas aside, that would say those cases, like we said in Dobbs, are not implicated.
Interesting. That's interesting. Why? Wasn't this the exact same fucking conversation that people had about abortion? Why do you take anything that these fucking demons said for granted at this point? Dude, it's so weird. You know how, like, what is it? It's like you're pissing on my face and telling me it's raining, right? That fucking take? It feels like someone is directly pissing on her face right now. She recognizes that, like, maybe it is piss, and then she still turns around and it's like, well, if they shit on my face, it's actually probably hailing. They won't shit on my face. They're just pissing on my head. What the fuck is wrong with you? Stop saying okay? I'm trying to use a fucking piss and shit analogy without you motherfuckers going crazy on it. Like, why would you ever listen to the Supreme Court justices when all 3 of those people that she's running defense for straight up fucking lied and said they would never overturn Roe v. Wade? What a strange thing.
Comments might be strong, but it's how I genuinely feel. I don't care that you're a Christian. I don't care what the Bible says. Like, I feel like it's a clown show, like sitting here trying to decipher what your little mythical book has to say about these very real political issues, right? I don't care if you're Christian. In fact, I will fight for you to have your religious liberty and practice your Christianity. I believe in that. I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your goddamn religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says. You live your life in the way that you interpret the Bible. Again, I don't care, but you don't get to take the Bible and tell me, well, the Bible says this in this chapter, in this verse. I don't care. I don't care. I don't believe in it. And I have the right, based on our Constitution, to not believe in it.
It's so perfect. This is a perfect rant. This is why I was thinking a lot about how, like, people no longer talk about like the fucking religious basis for why they're making these sorts of decisions, like why they're saying these sorts of things anymore. And I find that really, really, really strange. I guess it's a tactical decision by the Republican think tanks and whatnot to like move away from that.